Greetings from the Prison Project. We have traveled an incredible path of investigation. We have identified the architect Demiurge, located his infrastructure, the moon and the temples, and revealed the most cunning mechanism of recirculation, the tunnel of light. We are aware that these truths are difficult to believe. Your mind may resist, as this shatters the very foundation of your perceived reality. But our responsibility is to bring to your attention our accumulated knowledge and our vision of this world's architecture. We do not demand blind faith. We provide the pieces of a puzzle that you must assemble yourself. It is time for the last, most important stage before the global breakthrough, the escape plan. In the last issue, we analyzed the biochemistry of sovereignty, learned how to cleanse our biological ship, and deport the internal archons. We have regained control over the body, but all the traps of the system, from genetics to karma, work on one psychoenergetic basis, your low frequency. We know that the archons feed on the energy of suffering. But what is the main fuel of this prison? It is fear. If we do not turn off this generator within ourselves, the pure body will again become entangled in the webs. Today is episode 19, Overcoming Fear. We will reveal why your calm is a deadly poison for the system and how one person can break the script for everyone. Let's strip away the mysticism and look at fear as a technology. Fear is not an emotion. It is a program code that sustains the prison's operation. It performs two specific technical functions. One, energy production. Remember that cold sensation in your stomach when you read terrifying news, or the dread that you won't have enough money until payday. You think it's just a bodily reaction? No. At that moment, your body releases a massive amount of energy. Panic attacks, chronic anxiety, the fear of war or poverty. It is all a targeted harvesting process. You are functioning as a battery in short-circuit mode. 2. Consciousness blocking. Fear acts as a jammer. When you are afraid, your brain switches into an emergency reptilian mode. In textbooks, they call this fight or flight. But within the digital prison, it means freeze and obey. How does this work in practice? The system intentionally keeps you in a state of chronic anxiety to cut off your planning horizon to a single day. Fear of poverty. The economic collar, you hate your job. You feel you were made for something greater. But the fear of missing a loan payment blocks your creative will. You don't think about freedom or purpose. Your brain is occupied only with survival. You choose stable slavery over the risk of freedom. Fear of chaos, the search for a strong hand. When the news pumps you with horrors of war or epidemics, you stop analyzing. You begin to plead for protection. In this state, you are ready to voluntarily surrender your rights and freedoms to anyone who promises the illusion of safety. Fear forces the victim to love the warden. You have likely heard of Stockholm Syndrome. That is exactly what the fear of chaos is. Fear of judgment. The social cage, you see the lie, but you stay silent. Why? Because the instinct for self-preservation screams, don't dare to be different. Be like everyone else, or you'll become a target. The fear of being the black sheep or an outcast shuts down your critical thinking. You start nodding along even when you disagree, just to stay safe within the crowd. In this state, you are physically unable to see the manipulation. You think not about how to break the wall, but how to sit more comfortably in your cell. Fear is the perfect fuse that shuts down your higher mind. But there is one fear that stands above all others. It is the foundation of the prison, the fear of death. You have been trained to tremble before the unknown, before God's judgment, before the tunnel. But what if I told you that this mystical transition is merely a chemical reaction of your spacesuit? There is a molecule called the spirit molecule, DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It is the most powerful psychedelic in the world, produced by your own pineal gland. Your brain is programmed for two massive releases of this substance. When you are born and when you die, that light at the end of the tunnel, the sensation of flight, meeting divine entities. It is not a religious miracle. It is a protective mechanism of the brain. It is anesthesia to keep you from losing your mind from the shock of losing your body. The system uses your biology against you. It knows that under the influence of DMT, you become compliant, enamored, and trusting. They scare you with hell, so they can later sell you a heaven painted by your own brain. But if your gland is healthy, you receive microdoses of this insight every night. Those are the vivid, prophetic dreams that take your breath away. Understand this: death is not the end. It is a change of aggregate state, and the tunnel is just a firework display of neurons. When you understand the mechanics of the trick, you stop fearing the magician. And as soon as the fear of death vanishes, so do all other fears. They have nothing left to blackmail you with. But what happens if you stop being afraid? The system convinces you that you are a little person, a cog that decides nothing. This is a lie. History knows examples of individuals who broke their game at the cost of their own lives. Remember the story of the world-famous singer Sinéad O'Connor. It happened in October 1992 during a live broadcast of America's most popular show, Saturday Night Live. Millions of viewers expected entertainment. Instead, Sinéad stepped out and sang Bob Marley's War a Cappella. She looked directly into the camera, into the eyes of the system, and at the final words about the victory of good over evil, she pulled out a photograph of Pope John Paul II. She tore it into pieces on live television, saying, "Fight the real enemy." A dead silence fell over the hall. The producers froze in horror. She wasn't protesting against faith. She was protesting against the silencing of sexual abuse of children within the Catholic Church. What did the system do? It activated the Destroy Protocol. The next day, Sinéad woke up an outcast. Her records were crushed by bulldozers in the streets. Frank Sinatra publicly threatened her. The press declared her a crazy hysteric. Her career was burned to the ground. Why was the reaction so brutal? Because she spoke the truth 20 years before the system allowed it to be spoken. Only decades later did the Vatican officially acknowledge thousands of cases of pedophilia covered up by bishops. The world was forced to admit Sinéad was right. She wasn't crazy. She was the first one who stopped being afraid. She struck a gong in the midst of a dead silence of lies. The system tried to drown out the sound, to eliminate the source of the signal, but the vibration had already started. She proved that reality is changed not by those who wait for permission, but by those ready to sacrifice comfort for the truth. You are watching The Prison Project. What we say here today also seems radical, but as in Sinéad's case, we do not wait for the system to grant permission for the truth. We simply tear up the photograph of your illusion. We aren't calling for you to take to the streets. Your war is internal. How do you deactivate fear in daily life amidst the chaos? Here is your tool, zero reaction technology. The system constantly throws hooks at you. Bad news, rudeness in transit, financial problems. In that moment, the protocol expects you to explode with emotion. Your task is to refuse this feeding. This doesn't mean being indifferent. It means 1. See the situation. 2. Acknowledge it. Yes, this happened. 3. Do not invest emotion into it. When you actively decide not to fear and not to rage, you shut off the fuel tap. You transform from a generator of food into the system's antidote. Individual sovereignty begins when you stop allowing news and social media to manage your state. Of course, in the rhythm of daily life, it can be difficult to find the motivation and strength to resist the innate instinct of self-defense. But we have found a few quotes from world-famous figures for you. As Frank Herbert, the American author of the world-renowned Dune book series, said, "I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain." And Nelson Mandela, the former president of the Republic of South Africa, added, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." Share your experiences and practices with us in the comments. How exactly did you manage to break these chains of fear and escape the mental pressure? Share this episode with those who are currently imprisoned by anxiety, chronic stress, and panic attacks. Help them shut down this artificial generator of fear that is burning out their inner resource. Recall the situations when you felt terrified and how you calmed yourself down. Together, we have identified the most terrifying yet primitive weapon of the Archons, fear. We have clearly seen, through the tragic yet monumental example of Sinéad O'Connor, that this entire colossal system becomes completely helpless against those who refuse to fear it and refuse to play by its rules. When fear vanishes, so does the hook that the Matrix parasites used to hold you. But we are not simply stopping at turning off the fear. Right now, we are approaching the most critical boundary of our investigation, the moment we deliver the ultimate antidote to the system. This is not just an abstract theoretical key. This is the technology for creating your individual vacuum, a powerful, completely peaceful, yet impenetrable energetic shield. This vacuum entirely isolates your consciousness from external noise, algorithmic loops, and the mental viruses of the Matrix. It is a space of absolute silence, where no low-frequency wave can reach you or throw you off balance. Now, having fully purified our physical vehicle in the previous episode, deactivated the anxiety generators, deployed our personal protective vacuum, and declared our uncompromising, full sovereignty, our biological equipment is finally ready. It is ready to receive and transmit a signal of a higher order. We are ready to take up the ultimate tool of liberation, the music of light. Next stop, full, final awakening and stepping into the frequencies of the true Creator. See you in our major milestone 20th episode, where we will activate this protective shield to its maximum capacity. See you free. See you in reality.